We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Coppola question. Coppola?
That's one of the questions we have. Is it Coppola?
Coppola questions. A couple of questions here. Whose blood is Noel covered in that scene? Because it doesn't seem to be his, really. Like,
I thought
he's
it was
not
his because he
injured
was
in
like
any
slashing
way.
himself up.
Oh, okay.
Like he was cutting himself, I think they said, and he was suicidal. It looked like he'd slashed his neck or something.
With the bottle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, because he had the bottle up against his throat, and I think he probably just cut himself and then was smearing it all over.
I mean, it's in his hair. It's all over his body. It's just everywhere. So he's just
It's a
covered
lot
in
of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of blood, which I was thinking the same thing. Is it his? Did he kill somebody? Like, they just never address it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he is pretty freaking unhinged. And like they said, he held some priests captive with a screwdriver at one point. So, I mean, it could be somebody else's blood. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those missing persons reports should be linked back to Noel.
I think a lot could.
Noel was played by Mark Anthony, who I think was a singer.
Yeah,
I was
Mark
like,
Anthony.
I forgot
Mark
about
Anthony?
Yeah, I forgot
yeah.
Mark Anthony existed. But
Yeah. he had a
Really a
run
good
on
job at changing his look up.
some sitcom, right? He had like a starring role for a while, like an ER or something like that. Am I imagining that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
He kind of had a doctor role at one point, I feel like.
I thought he
based
did a
off of
pretty
this
good job
movie.
playing Noel.
Yeah, I mean, he annoyed me, and I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
What was with the white horse? Like, what?
Yeah, that's one of my other. That
I
was the
guess
first
we
question I
kind
wrote.
kind of answered it. Maybe it's to signify like death has arrived. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
so I feel like the working theory that I was working on as we come up with this is that his coping mechanism is now he sort of sees himself as an angel of death, rather than like a god saving people. And that's his transition throughout the movie is like coming to, because he says at the beginning he can always starts to feel like he can tell when the dying person doesn't want to be revived or whatever. I don't know if the horse is supposed to be a representation of that or if it's a literal horse, but it feels like that's his, like he comes to, he can finally sleep at the end because he goes and kills Mr. Burke. Who, he's finally accepted that he's an angel of death and not a person whose job is to save people, I guess. Because he tortures himself over the people that he can't save because he still wants to save people. But it's like he learns to take comfort in the people he lets die instead of worrying about saving everybody or something. Which the only thing that seems kind of at odds with that is when he saves Cy, because it's sort of like another cathartic moment. Like he finally got to save a person, which we haven't seen him do.
I feel like he
then,
kind of saved a few people in a row.
Somebody.
Yeah, but in his mind, he was saving him, and that's. There's a double-edged, I feel like Scorsese was trying to make the point that, like, no, he actually saved this guy from this torturous, being brought back to life over and over and over again. But at the same time, he murdered a guy. It's premeditated. Yeah. He had the sensors already on him before he arrived at the hospital.
Yeah.
He meant to kill this guy from way back when. Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be a gray area, and that's we find out. Like that's what's really been in eating at him for the last couple of nights. Is like he let this guy live, and he apparently has been telling him he doesn't want to live because he's going psycho. That was one of my questions: is he actually hearing? Can he actually hear dead people, or is he just going psycho? Because they don't make it clear one way or the other. So he could be that he very well is actually hearing and seeing ghosts.
They say that it's a supernatural drama when you look up the kind of synopsis of the movie and stuff. So maybe
really?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's even listed as horror. It's listed as horror on Amazon. Yeah, they have it tagged as a horror movie.
Yeah, I did see that. Which
that doesn't make sense.
Horror.
No,
I don't know. So it's like maybe it's probably just left intentionally vague. If you want to imagine he's actually hearing dead people, maybe that's
I thought it
paints
was
his actions in a
his
different light.
psychosis, his mental collapse. He starts hearing voices and stuff. You know, he's seeing ghosts, he's hearing voices, and now he's like he's imposing what he would feel like as Mr. Burke. So I think it's his own consciousness like speaking back to him through this person who probably is completely unaware of what's going on whatsoever, and is just in a coma. But yeah.
Probably. But I mean, to the point when somebody actually has a psychosis, they can't distinguish the reality from the fantasy. So to him, he very well does hear ghosts and sees dead people. Yeah.
I got the sense that the three guys that Frank was partnered up with kind of represented him in a way, like kind of they were mirrors, like representing his decline in a different way. I don't know if you guys got that sense or if I'm over kind of thinking it, or if they represent something else. Yeah.
I can see like different stages of his, like, so like his decline, because John Goodman, Larry's a good guy who wants to do well, wants to do more. He's got his goals. Then you have Marcus, who is a little crazy, but also lives for the thrill of truly saving people. Then you have Tom, who's just a fucking nut job, and that's where after he spends the night with Tom, he goes up and kills Mr. Burke.
Yeah, that's his final catharsis. Yeah, they are all sort of reflections, because also Larry is sort of apathetic about stuff, which like Frank's not. He is, but he isn't. Like he acts like he is, but obviously he does care about stuff. So there's that reflection of it. And like you said with Marcus, he loves saving people. Like it gets him all jazzed up, and has the God complex as well, which we know Frank also sort of has when he does that monologue saying that, you know, when you save somebody, you are God. Basically. And I think he learns throughout the quarter, like, well, you know, not only are you saving somebody, but if you kill somebody, you're also kind of God. You know, there's power in that too, I guess, in some weird, sick way. And that brings him comfort.
Maybe it's kind of like they're three different parts of him, kind of like when you put them all together, you kind of have Frank. All put together.
Yeah, because Tom is just the unhinged psycho part.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of like the three ghosts that visit Scrooge, right?
But then Frank kind of embraces some of that chaos, like smashes the window with Noel and stuff instead of whatever. And obviously he's not going to go as far as to bash someone's head in, but he does tell the guy to kill himself because he makes him sick because he couldn't, which does seem like something Tom would do. So it's like he's all exercising his demons with each one of the three guys that he works with and gets paired up with. Yeah. My only other question I had was, did anybody else think that the ICU looked like more like a morgue?
Yeah, it did.
The ICU in the hospital was just like a dark brick-laden room. Yeah. I've been in and around ICUs at other hospitals, and they're not well lit and cheerful places, but they tend to not be like in the sub-basement of a hospital.
They have a lot of tech. They have a lot of tech in there, and they're more of a hospital feel. I mean, because that's where you're going, and when you're in bad shape, obviously,
and they're constantly they're staffed by more than just like one person in a room.
Yes.
Like they had, because they need to have people on call to get there within seconds to stabilize somebody.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was probably intentional by Scorsese.
That's what I thought.
Make it feel like that, but I didn't notice that till you brought it up. But now, definitely.
Well, this whole hospital just seems like a hellish parody of a hospital. Like the waiting room is like hell. There's like a cacophony of the damned screaming everywhere you go and stuff, and they're all apathetic and whatnot. It's like a perverted inverse of what you would associate with a hospital. So it would make sense that the ICU, where you put your most vulnerable people, is basically just a morgue where you're just putting them there to die. So
that's a good point.
Maybe there's like a Dante's Inferno type of overarching theme that Scorsese was going for there, where it's like
could be
the 7 layers of hell.
The Inferno takes place over 3 days too. The story over Easter weekend, so it starts on a Friday and it ends on a Sunday. And I got that feeling at the end when he's in her arms. It looked like a Renaissance painting or a statue of like the Virgin Mary. Yeah. Hey, that's her name. Yeah. Holding Jesus, like a Pietà. After holding him after he's dead or whatever. with the light shine. Also, if you notice when he's killing Mr. Burke, the light dims, the light goes out, it turns dark. So they're using the light and shadow and stuff with it.
Yeah,
it seems like maybe there's a lot more layers to this than the surface, which I'm sure is intentional.
That was my overall impression of the movie. Is there was stuff that I felt I wasn't understanding, but is there for a reason.
Yeah. I'm sure the white horse, obviously, means something. They didn't put that in for nothing.
It's not necessarily a strength of the movie, I don't think, because it's unclear and it's muddled. But I do think it kind of helps maybe defend the movie a little bit. That there was more thought going into it than we may give it credit for.
Yeah, Scorsese is very, very good at putting things in for a reason. He, whatever you think of him as a director, he doesn't just throw stuff in there to leave it muddled. That's why that confused me with some of the choices in this movie. Some things just weren't very clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my only other question was, why did he, like, what made Scorsese decide to do this film? Because it doesn't really, I don't know, to me, it doesn't really feel like it fit the trend of movies he was making back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Like
for it to be so bland, it makes me really wonder what he saw in this film.
Like I said, there was more to it. Like he said that he spent a lot of time around paramedics because of his own family, suffering medical problems and stuff like that. And he really grew to respect them and had been wanting to do a movie about paramedics for a long, long time, but hadn't found the right vehicle. So, I think he had wanted to do this for a long time.
And I also think no filmmaker really wants to set out to make a bad movie or a dull movie. So, and you never really know what you're going to get until you're in the editing, and trying to put it together, and then you might get a final cut of it, and who knows what he actually had in mind and versus how it shook out.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like I don't think he was like, I want to make a paramedic movie about paramedics, but I want it to be kind of bland and mediocre and one of my worst movies.
Well, I mean, he's made worse, in my opinion, but
he has made worse. But this, we'll get into it in the rankings or the ratings. But it just was just so meh, kind of. It's all right. It's a movie.
I definitely appreciate it more after talking through it with you guys.
Yeah, I feel like that from every single movie we've done so far. There's so much more that you got that I didn't get, that we all collectively kind of made the movie better for ourselves.